Welcome to Glory, Glory, a Georgia Bulldogs podcast, along with Trey Littlefield. I'm Jeff Dantzler. Trey, we got a great show lined up. We got Will Myers, who does a great job at the Georgia football office, and we've also got a national champion named Stephanie Ratcliffe, who did something very unique, both a team and an individual national championship for our national championship winning track and field squad.
Yeah, excited about this podcast. You can follow along Georgia Bulldogs Athletics. We had our first show with Drake Bernstein and Jerry Chaplin last week, and really had a lot of views with that. We're really well followed, so we encourage people to go to Georgia Bulldogs Athletics to follow us and look forward to the conversations today.
And with these couches, I feel like we're on a Georgia Bulldogs Johnny Carson Tonight Show
That's
here.
right.
Great job with the championship trophies and the football helmet and the G here's. We're in the William D. Young Jr. Football atrium here, named for my good friend Bill Young there, who is also quite involved with the Terry College of Business. And we're going to tie that later on in the show.
We are. Stephanie Ratcliffe, maybe the only person to have 3 degrees, 1 from Harvard, 2 from Georgia. Very impressive. So can't wait to talk to her about that.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We will continue on here in America's greatest college town, Athens, GA. Kickoff is just around the corner from Glory, Glory, a Georgia Bulldogs podcast. Welcome back to Glory, Glory, a Georgia Bulldogs podcast. Johnny, Ed, and Doc with you here. Great to see Stephen Drummond with us. Stephen does a fantastic job, as does the great Trey Littlefield. These two guys do amazing work behind the scenes, as does this young man, Will Myers, who is involved in many facets of the football program as a director of personnel. Is that the correct title for you there, Will?
Nailed it. That's it.
Okay, and also involved with recruiting. And you know what we say, ABC, always be recruiting. And Coach King, Kirby Smart, and the Bulldogs. We can't talk about specific players. Been on a heater here lately. What a run.
That's right. Really culmination of a lot of efforts. You know, the recruiting timelines are really different these days. You know, commitments, they're like home runs in baseball. You know, they happen in bunches. And over the summer, June official visits have really become where all the emphasis is for prospects going into their senior year. A lot of them want it finished, and so that's where you see a lot of commitments, whereas it used to be December, February that we probably all remember.
You talk about the timeline. What does the process look like? You know, we've obviously seen the news over the last few weeks with all the players we've signed. When did you start that process for this current class?
Well, it really depends, like how big and how fast you get, how early. We've probably already started on the 2029, 2030 class in small ways, you know, the really obvious ones. But for these kids, these 2026s, a bunch of which just committed to us, I mean, it's really since I've been here, starting in 2023, so probably 2-3 years at least worth of work.
Will, how'd you get involved? Can you just give us your background, how you got involved in recruiting?
Yeah, like anyone, you know, you have to do an internship to graduate from college. So I went to LSU. I was a Johnny Hall walker. You know, I was not involved with the team, didn't play football. I was getting pretty far away from it, having played high school football. So to do my internship, a high school coach that I had, he plugged me in at South Carolina. So I started in the weight room over there spring of 2017, Stephen Drummond, South Carolina.
We can't tell that you spent any time in the weight room.
There is the point. So I pretty quickly figured out that was not for me. And so I felt like I was kind of spinning my wheels a little bit, and it's really only one phone call, one connection that it takes sometimes. You never know what that's going to be. But a friend of mine from college, he had a cool job. He was or cool sounding job at least. He was the director of player personnel at Michigan for Coach Harbaugh at the time. So I called him, and he plugged me in with the director of player personnel for Coach Muschamp at South Carolina at the time. So I kind of split time between two departments. Spring of 2017, 3 a.m. to noon in the weight room, noon to 7 p.m. And recruiting, all for free. But after that, I'd kind of transitioned into recruiting full-time, grew from full-time hours, and grew from there, unpaid intern, paid intern, hourly, $7.25, 15 hours a week. Felt like I was rich the first time they paid me. Can't believe they'll pay me to do this. And I grew from GA and then assistant director at Ole Miss, director of player personnel at Louisiana Lafayette, back in the home state, and director of player personnel here. So like anyone, an internship and a phone call is how it started.
Yeah, and I would think, too, when you're talking about recruiting and everything that goes into it, and as you mentioned, you start the process with some of these elite kids. I think about a guy, I knew about Elijah Griffin when he was in 8th grade. And when you're talking about a guy that special who was that big down in Savannah, it's got to feel like a tremendous culmination when you've been, putting in the work on a kid since they were in 8th or 9th grade. Then when they arrive here, and then, you hope they have 4 great years here as well.
It's really interesting. You kind of get to know them and you watch them grow up on tape, number one, but then also through visits. Elijah Griffin in particular, just how many times he visited here. We got to know him really well. We had so many evaluation points on him as a player, but as a person too. We're really comfortable with what we were getting, and that's the case for most players that we sign here. We watch them grow up. We know them early because recruiting is so sped up. We have a monster staff to evaluate everything that there is out there. But, yeah, it's really cool to see it from start to finish. Right when I got here, this is 2023, so Elijah would have been a rising sophomore. And there's so many others, in his class before and after that you know about. And, it's cool to see them grow up before they're here and when they're here, too.
I just wanted to point out real quick, when I started at Georgia working for the great Claude Felton in the fall of '91, we had 9 full-time coaches plus the head coach, a recruiting coordinator, 2 secretaries, 5 GAs, and Coach Casey and Coach Tereshinski were the strength coaches. Is the staff now, how much larger is the staff now? Probably about 100 strong as opposed to about 15 to 20.
Probably. It's an army. If you count upstairs and downstairs, and just even in our personnel recruiting department, there's an army.
Let me ask you this. Does anybody ever tell you you're a Will Muschamp lookalike? You ever get that?
I've been called a lot worse.
Okay. Talk about your relationship with Coach Muschamp, and then how crucial that was in getting here to Georgia, and your relationship with Coach Smart.
It was everything. Coach Muschamp, I revere Coach Muschamp personally. Anytime he calls, I answer. I'll wake up to answer.
Did he pay you to say that? I've known Will since he was a freshman, and
he's paid me in full over and over again.
Okay.
I revere Coach Muschamp. Any job I've ever had, he, in college football at least, he either gave me directly or helped me get. So awesome. I would run through a wall for him just like his players would.
How about when Jackson got in at quarterback at the end of the Orange Bowl? How awesome was that?
Awesome. I was standing right behind him. That was really cool to be there just for him, and then Jackson, a really good kid, obviously, too.
We'll talk about working with Coach Smart. People don't realize how much time and effort, energy he puts into every day, bringing the right kids here that have the right mentality. Just your experience working with him, and talk about his methods in recruiting.
Just working with Coach Smart in general, there's like 3 words. It's unique, difficult, and a privilege. It's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. That's kind of what football teaches you. So if something's difficult, it's worth having. Being here, working with Coach Smart can certainly be that. But he's the smartest, most dogged person I've probably ever been around, inside or outside of football. You can't outthink him. You can't out-anticipate him. And so getting to be around that, it makes you a lot better. At players, we know how much better he makes players. We know how much better Georgia makes players, how much better you get from being here, but staff too. It's not necessarily easy for anyone to be here or comfortable, but it makes you a lot better. So being around him, getting to see him work and work closely with him is a privilege. And the things that make him are so successful in recruiting, or really anything that Georgia football does or that he's ever done, are pretty obvious. Just the intellect, how he sees football big and small. He can get to the root cause or the root motivation why a play did or didn't work in a big way and a small way. How he sees things is breathtaking sometimes, but also just the dogged effort. There's nobody that outworks Coach Smart's staff.
I think that's well put too, because football, you can make it as complicated as you want, or you can break it down and make it as easy as you want. And I go back to what you were saying, both Kirby and Mary Beth, they were both academic All-Americans. And for Kirby, as we sit here, talking about BY, Bill Young, in the business school, Kirby was an academic All-American in business. I can't remember his GPA, 3.8, 3.9, whatever it was, not in like what I tried to major in, underwater fire prevention. I mean, this guy is a brilliant guy, but just the authenticity to that love for Georgia, the ability to be able to sell it, and for he and Mary Beth, this is where they've always wanted to be. And one of the things I like from a prospect that I can't remember if it was a commitment or somebody who had signed, And he said, Coach Smart said, there are going to be times you're going to want to quit. We're going to drive you that hard. And a lot of coaches aren't going to tell you that, oh, no, it's going to be a piece of cake. But for him to say, you know, we're basically picking however many we're going to sign 30 from a pool of, say, 50, 55 guys that have got it on the outside and on the inside. And that, to me, is just impressive. We're going to drive you so hard, you're going to want to quit. But it's going to be the best thing you can do, because I always loved the President Kennedy quote when he said, we choose to go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And winning a national championship, winning SEC championships is hard. And that's what we're all about here at Georgia.
Well, a universal truth, particularly in recruiting, whether they know it or not, everyone appreciates honesty, whether they know it or not. And here, what you see is what you get, and he'll tell you that on the front end, during, and on the back end. I don't think there's anybody that's ever been here or thought about coming here that felt lied to. In recruiting, you know, they smell those inauthenticity. You know, these guys are smarter than you probably think. But I guess to just answer your question, Steve, it's what makes Georgia successful in recruiting, Coach Smart successful in recruiting. You know, it's probably the same reason we're good at anything. We have a really sound, deep, thorough, multi-layered, cross-checked evaluation process and dogged work ethic, organization-wide, which obviously starts at the top, but people come here knowing recruiting is really important. People work here knowing recruiting is really important. Everyone recruits, quote unquote, is kind of the saying. So why would you expect anything less than success?
Yeah.
You mentioned telling the truth. So can we take the next couple minutes and do some truth telling?
Oh, well, this sounds like fun.
So we have a lot of parents that watch this podcast, and they have kids who are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. What would you say, how hard is it to come play football at Georgia?
It's hard to play here, but just getting to the line, quote unquote, or just getting on the radar, those things really aren't that difficult. And advice to parents, you know, nobody's an island. So it's like, give advice to parents. It's really the parent and their kid and the player. It really applies to both. But make it easy to evaluate you. You got to think about the scope, even with a monster staff, the scope that a big school like Georgia or our competitors cover. You know, you have to make it easy to evaluate you. And some of that stuff is really simple, seems mundane and not sexy, forgive me, but you got to have a really clean huddle account. You know, that's really where it starts. That's where any evaluation starts. You got to have highlights made, because again, just think, even someone like me, you know, I probably watch less tape than I used to, but still a ton. And if you don't have highlights where I could quickly just figure out who you are, how you might relate to other guys, like, you make it really difficult to evaluate you. You're going to want to have those highlights organized, put them in your Twitter bio, make sure your Twitter bio is clean, that the information, bare minimum information, any school is going to want to have: name, position, height, weight, and your huddle link, and your school and where you are. All of those things help you get evaluated, because that's where it all starts. Getting recruited starts with getting evaluated. What type of player are you? And then anything else that you can do to add context, workout video, you wouldn't believe, particularly during the COVID era, I think we all learned the value of just the random workout video, box jumps, all kinds of stuff.
The Brock Bowers videos, legendary, running up the hill.
All those things add context, right? We see you do something athletic or something additional. All those things make you more interesting, more visible, more recruitable. Play multiple sports, that certainly helps. I go on and on, Steve.
What about, should I send my kid to 20 camps?
If you've got the time and enough ice to ice up after, yeah, certainly. I think so.
You think it's worthwhile? It's not a waste of money to send my kid all over the country to as many camps as possible?
No, personally, I don't think so. The camp subject is, you know, we could go 1,000 different ways, but that's a critical evaluation point for us and for you. You know, it's rare for Georgia to sign anybody that didn't come work out here. Nothing beats a live evaluation. When you see it, you know it. The miss rate, quote unquote, is much lower on guys that you have seen work out. And so it's probably 90% shooting from the hip of our team came and worked out. And it's not always just the summer going into your senior year. You know, a lot of guys, I mean, you can put money in the bank, places you're interested in going or places that are interested in you. You can do that the summers before then. But it's really rare to sign somebody. I mean, you talk about special, to sign them without knowing or seeing it for yourself.
But I think Kirby has also, done a great job too, and you were spot on. But also with football, the physicality and how much your body can change from, say, 16 to 17 or 17 to 18. There are going to be those seniors that all of a sudden splash, that go from being, oh, this guy was a good player, to all of a sudden, well, here's a kid who had 20 tackles in the state championship game. And that's where Kirby has been the master at roster management. Everything you said is spot on, but there's always a little bit of wiggle room too.
You're never done evaluating. And so I think, unfortunately, with the way recruiting, the calendar, the timeline is now, you don't get to do as many senior evals as you used to. Just think about the developmental jumps, particularly if you're young for your age. The developmental jumps that occur, well, we all probably got bigger and faster between 17 and 18 than at any other point in our lifetime. You get to do less and less of those. But yes, it does happen, and you have to keep watching because you're never done.
I do want to bring – I think one thing for college football just moving forward, this has kind of been a thing I've been on, and I'm not trying to say, in the old days, because it wasn't that long ago. It was you had the season, and then you had the bowl game, and then players decided if they were turning pro, and then you had signing day. The early signing day, I think there was some unintended consequences, and now you've got the portal and player, you're trying to decide if guys are going pro or not after guys are transferring. I think the best thing college football could do right now, and this might sound simplistic, is to get to a working timeline. And whether that's doing away with the early signing period, which I'd be for, because I love the thrill of signing day in February. It was always right around the Super Bowl. It was awesome. But to get whatever the order is, whether you go portal, turn pro, signing day, and then you've got all this going on during the season as well. And I know, December used to be a month where you could kind of catch your breath. December's probably y'all's busiest month right now. Would you agree, though, trying to get some sort of a workable timeline would be a great step forward to kind of get some guardrails on things?
Well, I don't know if you'll ever get that February signing day back because of the mid-year enrollment is so popular now.
But now the mid-year guys, they could always sign in December if you had graduated. You could still come in early. But I know so many of them do now. But I'm just talking the big picture of having that timeline, because it's muddled and crossed over for sure.
Well, with academic calendars and then obviously the season calendar and just how far it reaches into the following year now, it's gotten harder and harder. But they have made some positive calendar changes. So for the first time ever, last year, all of December was dead. There was no off-campus or on-campus recruiting in December, which if you think about, bowl game prep or SEC championship prep, signing day prep, all those documents, all this stuff, practice, mid-year enrollment, all this stuff that you're doing, that was helpful. They shrunk the portal windows. They used to be 30 days apiece in December and in the spring. They were shorter this year. So there are probably limits to what they can change, but they have been improved.
So that's good to know. You feel like we are making some good steps.
Certainly, 24 was better than 23.
Okay, I like it. Even if they were baby steps.
I want to go back to the advice. I think that's great advice when you talk about giving advice to recruits and their parents. I have two little ones, still 2 years old, really tiny. I know Steven's son has been recruited. My two are learning from Coach/Uncle JD over here. But what's one thing you look for in a recruit that maybe sets them apart from the rest of the pack?
Well, I really wanted to almost half answer that question and back up to Steve's question about camps. I think there's this reluctance to camp, to work out, especially as players get older. They think a bad 40 time will hurt them. I don't want to do this. I've already done it. Why do I have to do that? Look at all my offers. But the great players that I've been around, that I've seen in my career, when they saw a ball or they saw a drill, they kind of couldn't help it. You didn't even have to ask them to.
It's a chance to compete.
100%. You didn't have to ask them to. And I don't know how you teach that or how you coach that, but I think it's only going to make you better. A bad 40 time doesn't take you off. If you're already on the radar, it doesn't take you off of it. But other things that can help you, none of these things will ultimately push you above the line, quote unquote, but multi-sport participation, which is kind of counterintuitive. Think playing other sports and not playing football will make me better at football. But 80% of the last two NFL drafts, 80% of the guys picked were multi-sport athletes in high school. It correlates highly to get to the highest level of football.
I'll just back that up too. I think it's in the Super Bowl too. It's 85% guys played multi-sports. And I know for me, I'd always just in following recruiting, whenever we'd get linemen, if they were great wrestlers or basketball players in high school, that they've got the upper body flexibility. I think like Trayvon Walker was a tremendous high school basketball player. Jalen Carter did multiple sports. So those big guys who can do things like basketball. Jared Wilson was a soccer player. Those guys who can do that translates well. And Kirby and I have talked about it too. And also it gives your body a rest. I mean, everybody knows playing the multiple sports is a good thing, and it's on so many levels too.
It not only makes you better at football, like again, counterintuitive, but it helps us continue to verify you. You know, when just like you said, big men in basketball, I think, I'm kind of on this, dying on this hill right now that basketball trains football movements in some ways better than football can. It's continuous. It never stops. Balance, body control, spatial awareness with linemen, whereas football is every 8 seconds. With jumps, for skill positions or any position, really, we can verify you're explosive. Hurdler speed looks really different, but if you're a fast hurdler, you're going to be fast. Think about Chris Cole on our team, big-time hurdler. He doesn't turn his feet over much, but he's got loose-hipped hurdler movements. I mean, this guy's stride length opposed to stride rate. This guy covers a lot of ground. So multi-sport, it makes you better at football, but it also gives us the opportunity to continue to evaluate you, and it's another positive evaluation point. But more advice is don't specify early. I think like one sport, one hole only, football only guys, very few of those guys get drafted. I don't know that necessarily makes you better. Like you need to be running track. You need to be even like a 14-second 100-meter for a guy that projects as a lineman. I mean, that's a great. The fact that he did it says something. So I think the more you can do that's not football will help you, and it'll make you better ultimately.
That's
and
really
you're competing.
Good. Yeah, that's really good.
You're competing. Yeah.
Okay, so say if my kid is a rising senior and he has no offers, he has the huddle, he's got his huddle together, he's got his Twitter. Any other nuggets you can give our audience that he might be able to do that could get him on the radar?
You got to get pretty active, and if it would have been, if we were talking in May or April, I mean, there's no limit to how many camps you can go to, and there's most of them you just sign up for and go. And even at our camps, Georgia's camps, we had 25 other schools probably here to evaluate the pool of players that we were able to get here. But you're going to have to get pretty active. You're going to have to communicate, reach out. Twitter DMs are probably better than emails at this point somehow. But there is a level of football for everyone. If you just want to play, if you're obsessed, eating up with the game, like there's a level for everybody. They all need players. But you may have to get a little bit active and do some of the work yourself to get seen.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I know we're running low on time here, but I want to dive in more about you and your career, man. It's so refreshing to see somebody so passionate about their job. You can really tell that you love this kind of stuff. Where did that passion come from for you personally?
Probably like for all of us with football, probably in youth football, I was a big kid, wasn't particularly coordinated. But I saw the value in being big, and I liked contact. I had brothers, so it was a sport I could play. Yeah. And I saw the value in it for me. But beyond that, probably high school is really where it really took off. I went to a big time program, high school football program in Louisiana. A lot of NFL guys come through there, and I understand football. I appreciated the things that it taught me. Pretty much everything that I know about life, most of it came from football, right? Like toughness. It's mostly merit-based. You get what you earn. Things are fair, which is one of the things I appreciate about being here. But it's really high school, and I've always wanted to be close to it because I understand it, and I kind of see the world from the football lens.
So were you a big Saints fan growing up?
Growing up?
Yes.
I was. Allegiances die once football starts paying your bills.
So who was your favorite player growing up?
Oh, there were so many awesome ones. Like it'd be too easy to say Drew Brees or Reggie Bush, Will Smith, Charles Grant.
It shows you how young he is, Jeff. He's naming all this.
Actually, let me answer that the right way. It was my first football memory was Monday Night Football, Joe Horn.
Okay.
Pulling out the cell phone from underneath the goalpost. And so having his son, JC, at South Carolina, Joe was around a lot. And I don't really get, and I haven't, which I'm proud of, getting starstruck. You know, you see all kinds of famous people here probably more than anywhere I've ever been. But that was the one I was like, oh, my, that's Joe Horn over there.
All right, so what was we all know Louisiana's got great food, Georgia's got great food. What's your favorite, like, go-to? Dogs win a big game. What's your go-to dinner that next night?
Well, it can be that night at this place, world famous downtown. It's the best burger and fries that Steve can attest. Best burger and fries in town, not close.
All right,
there we go. That's a good way to end it.
There you go. Will, this was terrific. Really enjoyed it. And can you give us? We got to close. We got to get a good Will Muschamp story.
Ooh.
Oh, you put me on the spot there. This would be a fireable offense. Just some of the, in a lot of ways similar to Coach Smart. You know, they've known each other for a long time. They coach similarly. Just the things, the honesty on the uncomfortable honesty on the practice field, and just I don't know how fearless he was. I mean, there's 1,000 stories that are not podcast appropriate, but I could go on and on if you turn the mic off.
Absolutely. Well, that was great. We really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
I'm career back of the house. This is cool for me.
All right.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Great stuff. All right, we'll continue on. We'll talk some track and field when we return on Glory, Glory, a Georgia Bulldogs podcast.
Back here on the Glory, Glory, a Georgia Bulldogs podcast alongside Jeff Dantzler. So happy to have Stephanie Ratcliffe, hammer thrower for Georgia women's track and field. And first of all, congratulations, a national champion. How does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's always exciting to win a national championships. I guess that's what we train all year for, and what we've trained our whole lives for, basically. So no, it's super exciting to do that in my final year, kickstart the women's team day one, and it's a successful weekend.
I think what's so incredible, too, is at the same event, to be both a team national champion and an individual national champion. That's a very rare accomplishment.
Yeah, no, it was very exciting. And I mean, I was kind of glad I got to go first. And then, because obviously it was athlete, full focus mode. And then as soon as my event's done, it's like full cheer mode, like cheering on everyone else. And it was so exciting to get behind the team.
Did you ever yell to anybody, hey, I've done my part. You need to pick it up. That's right.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talk a little bit about what you do, the hammer throw. Where did you, is that something that started in high school? Where did that kind of begin for you?
Yeah, so, I've been doing track and field since I was 5 back in Australia. It's done very differently through clubs, so it's a very common sport to pick up. And you start doing all the events, so run, jump, throws, hurdles, everything. And then eventually specialized down. Hurdles used to be my favorite, actually, when I was younger, like when I was 10 years old to 12 years old. And then, eventually tended towards the throwing events, discus, shot put, picked up hammer when I was 13, kept with all 3 for a while, but then once I got to college, it was just hammer. So,
yeah. Man, as you said, hurdles, I've always contended that I think the 400 hurdles is the toughest event in sports. Would you agree with that? Oh,
I'm sure. Yeah, I reckon that's pretty hard. Some people actually interestingly say that the 400's harder because the hurdles are a nice distraction. But I haven't done either of them at a high level, so I couldn't tell you.
Well, let me ask you this. What's more pressure, competing in the Olympics, you competed in the Olympics for Australia, or competing in the NCAA National Championship?
Oh, I feel like they're different experiences, for sure. Like Paris, I was inside the stadium. It was such a experience. Like, it was so loud. I've never heard anything like the crowd in that stadium. That was incredible. I had my family there watching me. But then the NCAA's is a whole different ballgame. It's a team. It's a team event, really. So you're not only doing it for yourself, you're doing it for everyone else in the team.
All right. We got to talk about academics here for a minute because most of the things you've majored in, I exempted out of those classes. So, all right. So neuroscience, correct?
Yes.
And then 2 degrees from Terry College here at the University of Georgia. Wow. That is amazing. Take us through your academic career and how in the world did you get so smart?
Jeff, why don't we compare GPAs really quick?
Was yours better than 2.01?
It was, yes.
Congratulations.
My undergrad, I actually wanted to do biomedical engineering when I first came in, and that was
my second choice.
That's right.
When I found out I had to do physics, I'm like, you know what? No, thank you. So I just chose neuroscience.
And you got that degree from?
I got it from Harvard. So it was a intense 4 years, but it was worth it in the end.
And I wanted to mention, too, I'd said it earlier for my friend Bill Young, we're in the William D. Young Jr. football lobby here. He has been named, I think it was 10 years ago, he was the Terry College's distinguished graduate and has been very involved with them. So I think it's kind of neat that we're shooting this in here with you getting not one but 2 degrees from the Terry College, where it's also where our great head football coach, Kirby Smart, got his business degree from the Terry College as well.
Sounds like it's a good,
You're in some
a
good
good
company
education
right
to have
there.
then.
So when your career's over and hopefully you win gold medals, what's next for you after that? You go in business? You're going to be a neurosurgeon? Are you going to open a neurosurgeon clinic and do it all? I mean, you got a lot of options.
Yeah, I guess I have options, and that's what I like. I feel like neuroscience it's very niche. So I wanted to mix some business in there, especially for the next. I want to compete for another 8 years at least. So I need something that can also work with track and field.
What do you think, Trey? Neuroscience is very niche. I need to broaden my horizons there.
Very, very easy. Very,
It
very
sounds a
simple.
lot like the conversations we have at lunch and when we're on the road with basketball.
Well, as you can see, we like to have a good time. So we'll dive into some of the personality questions here. You know, you're obviously successful academically, successful on the track. What's something you like to do away from the track?
I like the outdoors.
Yeah.
Like we have a boat back home, so wakeboarding on the back of the boat. I love snowboarding. Try my hand at surfing. Not the greatest at that, but hopefully get better one day. So yeah, anything outdoors, I really, really like.
Do you ever relax? Like watch television or movies or anything?
No time.
Yeah, no, I do. Especially when I'm not, I don't have school. Like at the moment, for example, I'll go home and lay in bed for a bit.
What's your favorite food? What's your go-to dish?
Oh, I'm not a big foodie, to be honest. I just like eat the basics. I've only just found out that, you know, you're meant to season your food. So started using salt and pepper the last few years, but yeah. But favorite food? I feel like in America, my go-to like takeout is like Mexican. I feel like then you can make it kind of healthy. Like it's not too bad. But yeah, I feel like it's a lot bigger here than in Australia. So.
Do you know, what about, have you and Brett Thorson talked at all, both being Melbourne natives?
I think I've had like one conversation with him, but not really. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I do want to ask how the mechanics of the hammer throw. I don't know if you can get up and show us how you do it. Like, I'm just very interested. Is it 3 swings and then a throw? Is it?
So it's 2 winds and then 4 turns and then a throw.
You gotta
Right,
you
you
gotta
gotta
walk
show
us
us
through
here.
it.
So
You can put the mic down. You're good. All right.
So you start here,
Okay.
and I wind it over my head twice,
Okay.
and then the first turn, I turn like on my left toe, so I come right up here like this, and then the next 3 turns, I like entire left heel, and do that 2 more times. Let it go.
Okay. Easy. All right. Yeah.
So obviously,
do that.
well, I tried to do it earlier in your office and I got very dizzy.
We
But
haven't been the same since.
But I mean, for that, obviously, you've got to have the athletic ability, the strength, the quick twitch fibers, but the technique for this. It's got to be just a combination of everything, and in the split second timing of when to let it go. Got to take us through that and what it takes to get to the point where you're not even thinking about it. It's just all natural.
yeah, like for sure, it's a huge technical event, and I think that I'm lucky that I've done it for so many years now that I've kind of got that technique embedded. I think that's one of my strengths as a hammer thrower is the technique side of things. I'm quite a technical thrower. I don't quite have my strength numbers up yet, so room to grow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely fall heavily on that. I feel like I've had a few injuries the last 2 years and kind of relearning the technique, and it's interesting, like, because you forget how hard it is and you take it for granted how much is just like how much it becomes natural, and then when you have to go back and you have to think about it again and kind of build back that like base throw, it's hard work. So for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this is interesting too, and just the way things work out. You mentioned being in Paris. The next 2 summer games are in Los Angeles, obviously here in the U.S. where you competed, and then in 1932, I'm showing my age. 1932, the Olympics were in Los Angeles. They were, but Tell everybody where the Olympics are going to be in 2032.
Yeah, 2032, they're going to be in Australia. So obviously my
that's
home
awesome.
country. Very, very excited.
You said Brisbane?
Brisbane up north, so the weather's better than Melbourne up there.
So, I mean, if you could do Paris, USA, and LA, and then maybe have your last Olympics be in your home nation, that would be really awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, that would be honestly the dream. Like, you couldn't top that. Like, a home Olympics, just being able to experience a home Olympics at any time is amazing. And for it to be hopefully a good finale, definitely something to look forward to.
Have you ever been to the Great Barrier Reef?
I have multiple times.
I would be scared to swim around there because you got the great whites, you got the saltwater crocs, and the box jellyfish. You got a lot of dangerous predators lurking out there.
Yeah,
Did you get in the water at all? Or
Yeah, of course, of course.
Of course.
She's not a
How
wimp.
crazy.
I actually did see a shark though, but it was only like a reef shark, so it wasn't anything dangerous.
Not a big deal. Just a
Nah.
shark. It's all
have you
good.
ever been to the Australian Open? That's a bucket
Yes,
list for me in Melbourne.
I have. That's a good experience too.
Were you a tennis fan growing up, or
I mean, we always like had it on the TV in the background. Never like a full-on fan or anything. But
what about golf?
I haven't watched golf. No.
Well, I'm curious. I admire that you are trying to raise awareness for type 1 diabetes as a type 1 diabetic yourself. I think we've all have family or ourselves have seen the effects of that disease on people. Just talk about how you've tried to raise awareness and the good things that you've done for that cause.
Yeah, I mean, I was diagnosed back when I was 6 years old, so I don't know life without it. I've always had it, and I guess it's just a part of me. I feel like growing up, especially through like my teenage years, I'd always try to hide it. Like I didn't want people to know, and I feel like just like the last few years through college, it's like no, like it is a part of me, and it's just accepting that, and then hopefully other people can see that and then accept it within themselves too. And it's not just type 1 diabetics, it's any chronic medical conditions, and trying to compete at a high level. It's just an extra responsibility we have, but it doesn't have to stop us from anything.
Well, I think that's brilliant, and I'm so glad you brought that up, and bravo for doing that, because I'm sure there's some young girls and young boys out there who have something like that. And for you, obviously being a world-class athlete, a national champion, to be out in front, and you're essentially saying, hey, you can still do whatever you want to do. I think that is just a commanding attitude for you to have. So very well done on that.
Yeah. And I feel like, honestly, personally, like it never even occurred to me that I couldn't do something because of it. And I know not everyone's as fortunate to have always had that perspective. Like you have to work towards that sometimes. But for me, it's just like, I think it helped. Like I said, I don't know life without it. So it's kind of just been like, never ever been a factor in any decision, to be honest.
Well, Stephanie, you are an absolute rock star. You're welcome back on our show anytime. You can show them how to do the hammer throw out on the track out here. So really want to see that, but really enjoy getting to know you today. And again, congratulations on all the things you're doing. National champion, Olympian, neuroscience major, 2 other degrees.
I'd be better at the hammer than the neuroscience, I'll promise you that.
Easier to learn that than neuroscience. Well, congratulations. And again,
Congratulations.
thank you so much.
No, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, that's
very
it for segment 2 of the Glory of Georgia Bulldogs podcast. We'll be back right after this for segment 3. Welcome back to Glory of Georgia Bulldogs podcast. I want to remind you, like, comment, and subscribe. Go to YouTube at Georgia Athletics. Leave us a comment on the show. Let us know who you'd like to see come on the show for future episodes. Jeff, this was a fun 2 segments today.
It was great. I mean, Will and Stephanie were so interesting. It was fantastic to have Stephen on with us here again. And the things that I took out of this, Will, talking about Will Muschamp, he has got a lot of Will Muschamp in him, the way he's driven, and he just does a great job with the football program, wearing so many different hats. And then for Stephanie, I just feel like a complete underachiever with what she does both academically and athletically, and to raise awareness for diabetes.
Phenomenal.
I mean, she is absolutely amazing, and what a treasure for the University of Georgia.
Between these 2 and then Drake on our last episode, they're really putting the host to shame here.
Well,
with their
yes.
accomplishments.
You gotta kind of get used when you're interviewing people
right.
like that. Get used to being the smallest stature person there for
Absolutely.
sure. But this was a lot of fun. It's always great to be with you as well, and seeing all these national championship trophies. And you know, too, we're counting it down to kickoff. It'll be here before you know it.
I want to say congratulations. Georgia Athletics won 4 national championships this past year. That ties the school record for most since 1999, all 4 in women's sports. So I want to say a huge congratulations to equestrian, women's tennis, and, of course, women's track and field. It's been a great year for Georgia Athletics.
No, it has. And I remember that 98-99 season. And the Lady Dogs, we had wrapped up going to the Final Four for basketball. We had beaten Iowa State, and women's swimming won it that night. Gymnastics won the national title, and men's tennis and men's golf won it. It was a really, 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 really special spring.
Special. And then Dasha Vinmanova, SEC Female Athlete of the Year.
Well,
There's
she
only been
won
7 of those.
everything possible.
Unbelievable.
I
Great
mean,
work.
what a
great job.
Incredible. I mean, she literally anything, Triple Crown, team, singles, doubles, indoor, outdoor. It was really, I think, one of the great individual seasons by any Georgia athlete in history.
It was, absolutely. So, it tells you, this podcast, a lot of stories to tell, a lot of success, like we saw today. Not just telling the stories of what they're doing on the court or on the field, but diving a little bit deeper and getting to know these people away from competition.
I still
so
can't believe
great.
she dove at the Great Barrier Reef out there.
right.
Too many things that can come and get you there.
Well, good luck with that neuroscience.
Absolutely.
research.
I'm going to have to buckle down and study extra hard.
Enjoyed it, my friend.
All right,
It was
enjoyed
awesome.
it too, my friend. And we'll be back with you next time right here on Glory, Glory, a Georgia Bulldogs podcast.